felt that the world had become very disconnected from each other, from ourselves, from our creator, but ultimately from the soul of the earth. When that happens, there's a really big problem, and humanity gets disconnected. So my work's always been about reconnecting humanity, and I thought, what better way than through UNESCO's World Heritage Sites to reconnect us to our ancestral past, our cultural history, back to each other, and then back into the soul of the earth through our heritage. And I thought it was a beautiful opportunity. So I painted the 50 most beloved UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And when you see them all together and you walk through the maze, it's an art maze, it gives you this real reconnection back to the soul of the earth. And I think it's really important. It's a beautiful opportunity to do something really meaningful. Well, it's interesting what's happened with Dubai. I think, what's been achieved in the last 50 years, but most dramatically in the last 20 years, is incredible. And art is an exception. The way that culture has developed and art has developed and opportunities developed is extraordinary. And I think there's a lot of factors. I think Sheikh Latifah Al Maktoum, I think she's a huge part of this. I think Sheikh Hamdan as well. It's the young generation shaking the lead from his highness and really understanding his vision and bringing it from the next generation and making it relevant for the next generation. And I think they've done that amazingly well, because you have to keep adapting and keep making yourself poignant and meaningful if you want to develop culture. Culture's many faceted, it's multifaceted, and the art community here has completely exploded, and I think it's because people see the opportunities here. And the way things have developed is incredible. And just to have that opportunity to be here and be inspired by being here. I think the huge inspiration point is the fact that you've got so many nationalities together, living in one community, and not like in places like London where they live segregated. They live in their own communities, and it's very segregated. But in Dubai, everyone is mixed together. Everyone talks to everyone, everyone gets on with everyone, and that's amazing. As an artist, when you're inspired by culture and by humans and by emotions, and you're surrounded by that, that's very inspiring. And that's helped my work a lot here. 10 people can pick up the same brush, make the same brush stroke, but it's the intentions with which you do it that makes that stroke magical. It gives it vibrations. It enables it to vibrate at a higher frequency and connect and create some form of universal consciousness, that's the power of art when it vibrates at that level. So I think that's when I realized that humanity is overcomplicated. It's about two words. It's about love and empathy. That's it. And art is about two words. Again, it's totally overly complicated. Art is about love and empathy. That's it. And when art and humanity combine with love and empathy, it's incredibly powerful. And that's something that I've really studied and focused on and developed, because I found that when you combine those two with love and empathy, you can create magic and power that can resonate around the world and connect with people. And that's what it's all about. I like mixing oil and acrylic together. I think that's a beautiful thing. And then you use different linseed oils to make it more fluid or less or more viscous, depending how much linseed you use. And I think when you combine layers of oil and acrylic with linseed, something really magical happens. You get all these rich layers and colors, but you also get the texture. And you can only get that with that combination. And I like scratching crayons and marks into the canvas as well, just to get that energy flow and that real expression through your intention. And when you combine all those mediums together, something powerful happens.
I don't think there's no introduction needed. Sacha, would you come to the stage now? Wow. Wow.
Hey, man.
It's amazing.
Thank you, brother.
Okay,
Assalamu alaikum.
Good, good.
Good to see you. Hi there. Right, I'm a bit sick, so apologies. Welcome, everyone. I'm going to talk a little bit, not for long, like 9 minutes, that's about it, on what I know. Basically, I'm going to talk about my work as an artist, my life as an artist, then a little bit about the rabbit hole of the metaverse, the even bigger rabbit hole of NFTs, and how we can potentially create a balance for a better future with a balance with technology and humanity. At the moment, that balance is on a knife edge. We're at a real crossroads as a humanity, not understanding how to use technology in the right way without losing what being human means. Our future is not technology. Our future is human. Technology should serve to aid humanity. Technology is at its best when it solves a problem that we have, but a real problem that we have, not when it's used to tell us things that we need. There's a lot of things that we don't need, but we're told we need them. And technology brings them to us because it feeds $1 trillion business. And sadly, money leads that route. But there's a danger that humanity will die in this process. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about my work as an artist, a little bit about the use of technology and potentially a better way forward, finding a balance. And that's about it. So let's start with my work. I know that we are made of energy, and we communicate at our most poignant, our most powerful, through energy. The problem is our energy is made of our intentions. And when our intentions become questionable, agenda-filled, financially driven, socially driven, when they become suspect, we emit static. When we emit static, we can no longer communicate because energy cannot communicate through static. So we as a humanity have become disconnected. I try through my work to reconnect humanity through the beauty and power of art. That's what I try and do. Sometimes I'm up against a brick wall, sometimes I get somewhere, but it's something that I will dedicate my life to till the day I die. It's something I believe in. If you're going to sacrifice your life to be an artist, of which there are many sacrifices on that journey, you better make sure it's worth it. So you've got to give yourself a real cause, a real challenge to try and achieve. And I think there's no greater challenge than trying to reunify and reconnect humanity. Because with that, we will find a beautiful world linked to universal consciousness where we reconnect and our souls can dance again. That's the world I want to live in, and that's what I dedicate my life to as an artist. So that's what my work's about, trying to reconnect us to ourselves, to each other, to our Creator, but ultimately to the soul of the earth. When we get reconnected, we can remind ourselves of the power within us, and we can actually do things that matter, do things that tap into human consciousness. We can make a change that means something, that has a legacy. The process of my work, I will tell you a little bit about. So a lot of artists get it wrong. In fact, most artists get it wrong. The big names that you know, the biggest names that you know in the art world get it wrong. More often than not, they concentrate on the finished product, how it will look, how they'll sell it, how they'll market it, who they'll sell it to, often how much they'll sell it for. If they're doing a little bit better than that, they'll concentrate on the process of creation, the journey itself. That's a bit better. But again, that's wrong. As an artist, you should concentrate on one thing only: how you live your life. You concentrate on living a life of grace. Living a life of grace means treating every man and woman the same, whether it's the king of the country or the janitor in the loo or the guy that sweeps the streets. They deserve to be treated with the same love and respect. With that, you live a life of grace. And with that life of grace, you borrow a moment. You borrow a moment and something beautiful spills out of you, some magic. But what you have to remember is that you're only borrowing a moment. And when that magic finishes, you give it back with grace and gratitude, and you say thank you. And you have to remember that you are only borrowing that moment, and you give it back, and you say thank you. If you continue to give it back with grace and gratitude, that moment will keep coming back to you. But as soon as you forget that you're only borrowing that moment, it'll stop coming back to you. People call that writer's block or creator's block. But there's no such thing as writer's block or creator's block. It's a load of nonsense. It's when you're not living a life of grace. It's when you're not borrowing those moments. And it's when you're not giving them back. It's when you're engaging the ego. You're thinking that you created this thing. The ego gets engaged. You stop tapping into something greater than yourself. You stop tapping into universal consciousness. And you lose that sense of poignancy and magic. It's as simple as that. So, as an artist, that's what I focus on. How I live my life. And then these moments get borrowed. I paint from the subconscious, so my brainwaves are deep in theta, and I'm in a trance. I tap into something, and I'm in a state of surrender. It's a bit of a contradiction, because when your brainwaves are in theta, that's a complete state of surrender. And you can't create from that state. You can't create from surrender. Beethoven did it, Mozart did it, and when you do it, that's when something really powerful happens. Because we are very powerful beings in a very powerful world. But only when we tap into and connect with what is good and right. And the only time we can do that is when we surrender. We surrender to something more powerful than ourselves. And that's when we find clarity and power. So that's my process. Okay, now we'll move on to NFTs briefly, and then on to the metaverse. NFTs. Well, I can quite happily stand here and tell you that in a year, maybe 18 months, 99% of all NFTs will be worth zero. No question. 99%. That's not a bad thing. That will happen because they're worthless, 99% of them. It's the same as the birth of the internet. We're at that same moment, that explosion, where we have this huge spike of overinflated value in the NFT market, things that are worth nothing. The whole market will crash, and 99% of them will be worth nothing. But that's a good thing, because then it comes crashing down and a real foundation is made. And that foundation will create a new market that actually has real value. And that market will be worth 10 times the value of the market we're seeing now. No question. So that 1% that is out there, that does have value, that does have poignancy, that will keep its value and go astronomical in its demand and its true value. And that's an interesting time in the future of NFTs. I'd say we're about 18 months away from that. NFTs are overcomplicated, they're incredibly basic. It's just a title deed that's tapped to the blockchain. They have real value when there's a physical asset attached to it with real value, not flipping a JPEG back and forth and making a few $1,000s. That's not what the NFT market is about, and that's not the future of NFTs. But what will happen in the next 18 months to 2 years will become fascinating. And it's something that has a lot of power in our world. It's something that can change the charitable model. It's something that can create fractionalization of physical assets that really can raise huge funds around our world for charitable endeavors that can really do some good. It's a basic equation. I can sell a painting for $10 million, one painting. It goes to one owner, it sits in a vault or on their wall, or it's in a museum, but not many people will see it and share it. Or I can fractionalize that painting into 1 million pixels with 1 million tokens. You can charge $100 per token, and you can raise $10 billion from that same asset. It's actually quite simple. You have to create real value. You have to have real intention. And with that, these things can be achieved with the use of technology. So that's the good part of technology, changing the charitable model. So now I'll move on to the metaverse. The metaverse concerns me a lot. I'm a father of a child who's 7. I think anyone in the room or anyone in the world who has children of that generation, that new generation, anyone between the age of 2 and 15, I would say, I would imagine they're concerned. Unless they're blind and deaf, they are concerned. This is a generation that has been brought up with social media. This is a generation that doesn't know the world without social media. That's a really dangerous thing, that we haven't actually identified properly. I'm a bit older, as most of you are. We know and we can remember and we can relate and connect to a time when there was no social media. So we can keep it in perspective. We understand what it is, its flaws, what part of our life it should involve itself in, and what part it should stay away from. We're able to compartmentalize and keep it in perspective. But that new generation are not able. And what we will see in the issues of mental health in that generation in the next 20, 30 years is really, really serious. We're worried about our national health services. We're worried about the state of mental health. We're worried about one of the most shocking statistics, which is that the biggest killer of men between the age of 18 and 30 in the world is male suicide. We're worried about that. But we ignore the signs. We repeat the same patterns, and we make the same mistakes. And all we're doing is feeding that problem and exasperating that problem and making that problem bigger. The metaverse. The metaverse is useful in that it can help with education, it can help with health service, it can help with the logistics and the infrastructure that can actually improve aspects of life. But when you use art in the metaverse, there's a really big problem. When you think the future of art is the metaverse, you've got a really big problem. Art is about vibrating. You put a green next to a red, it will vibrate at a frequency. You put a red next to a black, it'll vibrate at a different frequency. Art is made of our intentions, the intentions of the artist, the soul of the artist. You make a brushstroke the same as everybody else, but the intentions with which it's done create vibrations that can vibrate at a higher frequency, that can tap into our consciousness, and that can trigger a change within us. That's the power of art. That's the thing we're starting to forget. The problem with technology and art when they combine, the problem with the metaverse is that screens omit static. Vibrations cannot be felt through static. Real connection to the soul cannot be felt when you're surrounded by static, when you engage through the screen, through digitalization. you lose that power and that beauty of art. Art is the most powerful thing in our world. It's so important to the future of humanity. And we must protect it and its future. The metaverse, NFTs, digitalization is fine. But we have to remind ourselves of the beauty of our natural surroundings. It's a concern that the next generation are obsessed with the metaverse because it implies to me that they've lost a connection to the world that we live in. If you want to lose yourself in an ulterior digital world that doesn't exist, you have to have lost faith, belief, a connection with the world that we know, the world that we live within, to want to escape to this digital world. The world that we know is the most beautiful, unimaginably rich, soulful world, which we need to remind ourselves of how to reconnect to, how to find the magic in the mundane, how to find the magic in the overfamiliar, how to reconnect to the beauty of our world, our physical and natural surroundings, our rivers, our trees, our mountains, our lakes, our forests, our animals, our oceans. Then we'll find magic in the world that we live in and within ourselves. I think it's really important as an artist to try and remind the world of that fact. We're going to dip into the metaverse. We're going to dip into digitalization. This is fine. This is a good thing in many ways. But we mustn't let art get swallowed up into this world. It needs a separate world where it can thrive and remind us of the beauty that surrounds us. Then we can reconnect to each other. We can reconnect to ourselves. We can reconnect to our Creator. And ultimately, we can reconnect to the soul of the earth. That's how we reunite humanity. That's how we create a better tomorrow. And that's how technology can aid humanity rather than the other way around. I'll leave you with one final thought, I guess, on the power of vibration. It's a beautiful quote that I try and remind myself of every day. I think it's two things. I worked with Mr. Mandela, and I ran the Mandela Children's Foundation for the last 4 years of his life. So I got to meet one of the most beautiful men that's ever worked this planet every day of his life for the last 4 years. And it was phenomenal. This man was special. He taught me a few things. He taught me that from the darkness comes the light. He taught me that human beings have become so self-important, which is ridiculous when you think about how tiny we are in this world and within this universe. We are tiny specks of dust. Our self-importance is a joke. If we connect to that self-importance through the ego, we're forgetting something so important, which is that if we can embrace humility, if we can remind ourselves how small we are, we can become truly great. That's the thing we should remind ourselves of. And that's when true human connection happens at a higher level and vibrates at a higher frequency. And the last thing he taught me was this line that he repeated over and over again in his cell, which got him through 24 years of incarceration. And by repeating this poem and these two lines in particular, I am the master of my fate and the captain of my soul. And those two lines got him through 24 years of incarceration. What that means is more than I think we realize at first. It means that you're not doing a service to others by hiding your light under a bushel. You must shine your light. We think we're doing a service to others by hiding our light under a bushel and allowing others to shine instead of us. But that's not how we make a change. If we shine our light, we encourage others to do the same around us. and our world shines together. That's what we have to focus on. But when we shine our light, we purify our intentions. Because what we make, achieve, or do in this world means nothing. What matters is the intentions with which we do it. That's the legacy we'll leave in this world when we're gone. The quote that sums that up is, imagine if the world was blind and we were judged only by our vibrations. How would we do? As an artist and as a human, I think it's the most important thing to remind ourselves of. True human connection comes through vibration. If we were all blind and we were judged only by our vibrations, how would we do? Pretty badly. So how do we purify and empower those vibrations? That's the future of our world. That's the future of the relationship between technology and humanity. That's it. Thank you. Great to meet you all. And have a great day. Thank you so much.
Really nice. I like it.
I want to reconnect humanity, and the way to do that, there's no better way than through the custodians of our heritage, UNESCO's World Heritage Site. It's a way to really connect humanity back to the beauty of our world.
Welcome to the Armies. Didn't think we would necessarily make it up to here, but we made it. We have the most incredible painting there. And what we're doing with the art maze, this takes guts and courage. But we're doing it, and we're committed to doing it. The artworks are up. We're in the Grand Hall of UNESCO Paris headquarters. What an honour to be here for European Heritage Weekend.
It's a great experience for my team and for me to see how people enjoy the art and that they understand the story we are actually telling about it. And with a few stars with the aircraft that was connecting 149 vertical sites.
We want to make sure that art is accessible to everybody. That through art, we are really engaging people in stimulating conversations about the World Heritage Sites across the world. This is where it starts with conversation.
That's the difference. At UNESCO, we are not a museum, we are a United Nations organization.
UNESCO's 50th anniversary as we reconnect humanity through the heritage sites of our world.